Call to order. How to participate in the virtual meeting. This meeting is being held in the council chambers, which are open for public attendance and participation. The meeting will also be live streamed for public viewing, but not participation. At the link identified in the agenda, emailed comments sent and received by the city clerk at least 24 hours before the meeting were distributed to the city council prior to the meeting. Can I have roll call, please?
Mayor Shaw. Vice Mayor Kirchner.
Present.
Councilmember Boomgarden.
I'm here.
Councilmember Espandola.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Thank you for that. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have one item scheduled for closed session. Closed session agenda item A, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. Agency designated representatives are Diana Langley, City Manager; Natalie Springer, Human Resources Director; Brad McIntyre, Community Services Director; Spencer Morrison, Finance Director; Ben Moody, Public Works and Development Services Director; Brian Baker, Police Chief; Jesse Alexander, Fire Chief; Michael Jarvis, LCS. The employee organizations are Yuba City Police Officers, Police Sergeants; Yuba City Firefighters, Local 3793; Yuba City Fire Management, First Level Managers, Mid-Managers, Police Foreman, Mid-Managers, and Employee and Public Employees, Local Number 1. The unrepresented employees are confidential employees and executive service employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public? We do not. Council will recess into closed session.
Okay, we will call this meeting to order. And see, this meeting is being held in the council chambers, which are open for public attendance and participation. This meeting will also be live streamed for public viewing, but not participation, at the link in the agenda. Emailed comments sent and received by the city clerk at least 24 hours before the meeting were distributed to the city council prior to the meeting. Tonight's invocation will be given by the Yuba City Police Department's chaplain, Ron Fortenberry, and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Tony Curlin. So please stand.
Almighty God, thank you for allowing us to live in a city of peace where we can assemble freely. Thank you, Father, for the first responders who keep us safe. I pray you would continue to bless them and protect them with their big warrior angels. I thank you, Father, for these council members who work diligently and are committed to keeping our city safe, strong, and peaceful. Give them continued wisdom and knowledge. Protect them, God. Keep their hearts and minds strong. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. We ask for your presence in this meeting. In Jesus' name, amen.
Salute pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Mr. Chaffin, will you report out on any closed session items tonight?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. There was no reportable action taken in closed session. Additionally, would you like the city clerk to call roll?
Oh, did I totally forgot that? All right. Yep. Can we have roll?
Mayor Shaw.
Here.
Vice Mayor Kirchner.
Present.
Councilmember Boomgarden.
Here.
Councilmember Espandola.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Mr. Chaffin, my arrival time was 5:50, 5:55.
5:50, and for the record, Mayor Shaw did participate fully in the closed session item. Thank you.
Thank you. To the council, any agenda modifications that we need to make? Okay, seeing none, we will move right on down the line to public communication. You are welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment is taken on action items appearing on the consent calendar or business item on the agenda when they are called. Public comment on any other item within the scope of the city's jurisdiction, including items not listed on the agenda, will be considered at this time. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Members of the public submitting written requests at least 24 hours prior to the meeting will have allotted 5 minutes to comment per speaker. Repetitive comments may be limited, and large groups are encouraged to select representatives to express the opinions of the group. We do have one request this evening. Mr. Joel, you have 5 minutes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, before you start that clock, could I? Thank you. You didn't want to listen to me, huh? God, thanks. Could I have a minute or two to thank and apologize? Or is that going to count in my 5 minutes?
It'll all be part of your 5 minutes, but I have a little levity, so
then
please.
I want to apologize and say the heck with whatever it is. Yes, getting back into the naming of the park, against it again and again. Now, we did have a chat with Mr. McIntyre on the 10th. Rodney and I, we went through the whole items, everything, the criteria that you had signed in December. He does not meet any one of them, except for the last one, or that he has to do the background checkup, now, which he passed. Okay, thank you. Now, we also had a meeting today, nothing behind your back, with the attorney and the manager. Again, it was just trying to get some what we're doing and what cannot be done. Now, since you, as a council members, did not respond to the criteria that you have signed, which is not right, which is not good. I don't want to say illegal, okay, since I'm not attorney. So therefore, that, these things here, we can commend and go back and forth on it. Now, there, as you can see, the sport is growing. If you look at the criteria, the first item is that has to be dead for 3 years. But there's an item that comes out, the address, the residence. Now, I recall that you asked Mr. Taidman the last time he stood up where he resided, but you never asked Didar Baines where he resides. He does not live in the city, never had. But he is posing into the city. So therefore, a lot of these things have come up. We have, growing strength against the name, and it's not going to end till you rectify it. Now, we were brought up with the Rosenberg rule, which was that Mr. Chaffin read the other day, the last meeting. If you go to page 6, it also has a motion to reconsider. I wish that you, the council, will reconsider this. Otherwise, the only thing that we have to proceed with this are few options that few of the people brought up. One, go to the voters. Two, would be to, file with the DA's office. Three, go out there and then say, hey, go to the grand jury. Four, to have a lawyer, pardon my expression, the legal person to go out and file an injunction. So those are some of our options to do, but we will not do that till you have a consideration by when your next meeting is. So it will be done after you decide on the 6th of June whether you want to reconsider this or we have to go out there and then file these items against it. So either way, we are not backing out. As you can see, there are more and more people just coming in even though they're working. And they can go to the voters and say, hey, okay, sign a petition. We can go and file that on the ballot. So these are some of the options that we have. The only option that you have is reconsideration and going back onto the Rosenberg rule and saying, hey, and it is on page 6 if you want to take a look at it. It goes in there for the motion to reconsider. You have made a decision which was the wrong decision. You did not follow your own rules that you set up just a month or two before considering that name. And the public was not notified, was only done by Mr. Carmes Baines because he is the supervisor of the county. Whether you crumbled under it or not, I don't know. but nobody in the city did anything to follow that criteria. Is that what you want us to do? You set up the rules, or as the old saying is, do as I say, not as I do. So those are some of those things that are coming up, and it has to be from you. And we have to respect you in the matter that you have taken the positions. We have to respect you in a way that we voted for you to get into that position so you can take care of the city. But with these lies and everything, I'm sorry. If this is against my Punjabi people, I will speak from now on. I was doing this as a citizen of the U.S. and being a resident of the city of Yuba City. But from now on, it will be not only for the city of Yuba City, anybody says anything against Punjabis or the Americans, I will be standing for it. So hopefully that you can reconsider your judgment that you have made a mistake and come to a conclusion that this can be solved without going into a lengthy process. Now, as you can see, if this thing is going online, how much damage is this thing doing to Mr. Baines' family and to you? I thank you for your time, and please reconsider.
Thank you. I have Mr. Kashmir Rai. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Cash Rai. I'm living in 856 Sanborn Road. And I'm supporting Piara. I'm donating my time to Piara Joel. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And just for the record, I appreciate you stating your address. The address is simply for the record so that we have your name and address. So next will be Harjit Gill.
Hi, my name is Harjit Gill. I'm living 3580 Kembe, Yuba City, and I'm supporting to Pyara Joe.
Okay, thank you. Next is Amrik Sandhu.
Hi, my name is Amrik Sandhu, and I live in 1808 Dijan Court, Yuba City, California, and I'm here to support Mr. Joe.
All right, thank you. Next is it Sabi Singh?
Yes, my name is Savi Singh. I live in 1137 Leonard Court. I support Mr. Pyara Joel 100%. Thank you.
All righty, thank you. Next will be Sukhdev Mundi.
My name is Sukhdev Singh Mundi. I live on 1511 Berkshire Drive, Yuba City. I support Mr. Pyara. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next will be, is it Joga Tiara? Did I pronounce it correctly? Yes, sir. All right.
My name is Yuba City. I live 1452 Countryside Drive. I support Pyara Singh Joel.
Okay, thank you. Next is Tejpal Banawal. And as always, if you can name and address for the record, please.
Yes. Tejpal Singh Bainwal, 5080 Moorcroft Circle, Stockton, California. And just to be clear, yes, I'm not a resident of this city, but good evening, members of the council. As a historian and scholar of Sikh American history, I'm asked to provide the full story and be unbiased when I'm doing my work. And I ask the city of Yuba City to please do the same. As y'all are looking to rename a park, members of the community are speaking out against it, and there's a reason for that. Ask yourself why and listen to these stories. We can't suppress certain stories and choose to highlight whatever pleases us or helps us win re-election. To be clear, once again, I'm not a member of this city, but I was made aware of what's happening here and wanted to come witness it rather than hearing it from a few individuals. As a scholar and historian, once again, it's on me to do that due diligence. And as elected officials, it's also on y'all to listen to your constituents and discuss this matter with them. The naming of this park will reflect on y'all, and it's also your jobs to approach the history with an unbiased lens. After y'all do that due diligence and still feel as if the park name should remain, then so be it. but please do that due diligence to ensure we're telling the full story and an unbiased history. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tejman?
Good afternoon, Tejman, 4090 Nicholas Road. I'm also in here to support Piara, Joel, and the rest of the community against this action that was taken by the City Council. From day one, I have objected to the name. Not so much as what the name is, but I'm more concerned with the procedure. I was on the City Council for 2 terms, and the reason I ran for City Council and wanted to serve was a respectable position. It was an honorable position. And basically, when I was doing this, I was at the understanding that we represent the people. We're the voice of the people. Everybody, we cannot get entire population to vote, so we represent what our citizens want, and we go with their ideas. We don't just listen to one person, and the person makes up facts, and then we mix up data that we, by putting a city stamp on it, make it fact. The city didn't do their due diligence. I wish they would do their diligence. It doesn't appear to be that the City Council is interested in doing due diligence or doing doing the right thing. Politicians, city councils, mayors used to be a very respected position, honorable position. It's gotten to the point where when you talk out at a water cooler, people will say you should put, like NASCAR people, put labels on them. Who are they sponsored by? Because they certainly aren't representing the people anymore. I'm sad to hear that. Hopefully it'll change back. One day we'll have people representing us that represent the citizens, that represents the poor person, no person that doesn't have the polls, doesn't have the ability to write thousands of dollars in campaign checks. I hope one day we could get to a point, again, the American way, where the electeds represent the people they elected them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments under public communication tonight? Any other comments under public communication? Okay. Seeing none, then thank you. We will move on to agenda item 2 through, give me just a second here, 2 through 10. Is the consent calendar. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time that council votes on the motion unless members of the city council request specific items to be discussed or removed from the consent calendar for individual action. Any discussion from the council? Okay, any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Back to the council for action.
Through the mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve consent calendar items 2 through 10. Let me get my tongue together here.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Espandola, a second from Councilmember Harris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. We will now move to agenda item 11, which is to approve the 2020 Urban Forest Master Plan. And Rob Condrey, who's our Parks and Rec Superintendent, you have the floor, sir.
All right, good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. My name is Rob Condrey, Parks and Grounds Superintendent. We're here tonight to talk to you about the 2020 Urban Forest Master Plan. A little bit of background, in 2018, the city entered into a grant with CAL FIRE. Received $327,000 as part of a greenhouse gas reduction grant. So within that grant, there was a few few of the items were to create the city with an urban forest master plan, to create to plant 500 trees within the city in underdeveloped areas, along with signage, educational signage, and update the city's current city municipal code, as well as providing the city with a new tree guide. In 2019, we entered into an agreement with Davie Resource Group. I have one of the consultants here with me tonight to explain the plan to you. They're going to carry out these action items in the grant.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Tina McKeon. I'm a board-certified master arborist and principal consultant with Davie Resource Group. And I'm very pleased to be with you this evening to present Yuba City's Urban Forest Master Plan for your consideration.
Excuse me just a moment. Sierra, can we have our mic turned up, or is it turned on?
I might not be standing close enough. Tell me when it's... I didn't want it to squeal. Testing. Okay, good. Thank you. Should I start over? Yes. You just introduced yourself. Okay, great. In this brief presentation, I will summarize the plan development process, provide highlights on the current state of the urban forest, including the benefits provided to the community, and outline key goals from the Urban Forest Master Plan. And before we move on, I'd like to acknowledge one more time that the funding for this project was provided by the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection as part of the Climate Investments Program. The development process for Yuba City's Urban Forest Master Plan began in August 2019. During the latter half of 2019 and 2020, Davie Resource Group collected inventory of city-managed trees and completed a comprehensive review of the regulations and policies that guide the care and preservation of trees in Yuba City. Using iTree Eco, we analyzed tree inventory data to benchmark the current composition, value, and benefits provided by these trees to the community. And using high-resolution aerial imagery, we conducted a tree canopy and land cover assessment to map the extent and location of all tree canopy. With the emergence of COVID-19, we were forced to get creative and modify our strategies for community engagement. Information about the urban forest was presented through an interactive online story map, and respecting social distancing guidelines, Davie Resource Group was able to set up a booth on 4 occasions at the Yuba City Farmers Market, where we engaged with community members to answer questions about the urban forest and gather input for the plan. An online survey ran from July through early December of 2020. And we also conducted working group meetings and stakeholder interviews with key individuals who plan for, advocate for, and contribute to the management of Yuba City's trees. The development of the Urban Forest Master Plan included 2 drafts and the final plan that you have before you this evening. Oops. To clarify some important distinctions, an urban forest is generally defined as the collection of trees and woody shrubs that grow within an urban boundary. The urban forest is a mix of trees on both public and private property. We also further define community trees as a subset of the urban forest. Community trees are those that are planted on publicly owned right-of-ways and property, including street trees, park trees, and trees at city facilities. While the primary focus of the Urban Forest Master Plan is on the care and management and preservation of community trees, there are goals and objectives to engage with residents and property owners to facilitate tree planting and canopy expansion on private property. As of 2019, Yuba City's urban forest canopy covers 19% of the community. Approximately 22% of this canopy is provided by community trees. The community tree inventory includes more than 11,800 trees and 156 unique species. Community trees are currently storing more than 3,000 tons of carbon, and the majority of trees are in good or better condition. To replace this community tree resource with trees of similar size, species, and condition, would cost approximately $33.6 million. Annually, Yuba City's community trees are providing more than $48,000 in benefits to air quality, reductions in stormwater runoff, and additional carbon storage. Taking a step back, this map illustrates the extent and distribution of tree canopy, both public and private, across Yuba City. While the overall tree canopy cover is around 19%, the average canopy cover in parks is actually 28%. To provide context with other land cover, our assessment also mapped impervious surfaces, including roadways, parking lots, buildings, and other similar surfaces that do not generally provide a lot of opportunities for tree planting. As of 2019, impervious surfaces are covering more than 50% of Yuba City. In contrast, bare soils and areas with grasses and low-lying vegetation may provide opportunities for additional trees and canopy cover. In Yuba City, approximately 28% of land cover is currently composed of bare soil and low-lying vegetation. City staff work closely with Davie Resource Group to identify areas of bare soil and vegetation where additional trees would not be suitable. That would include agricultural lands, recreational fields, and other areas where trees may conflict with planned development or existing land use. Excluding those locations, we estimate that the canopy potential for Yuba City is slightly more than 39% if all currently available space was planted. Recognizing that there are many potential uses for available space, this value can still provide a helpful basis for developing canopy goals and increasing the value and benefits of Yuba City's urban forest. The planning process identified 4 focus areas for the Urban Forest Master Plan: management and planning, protections and regulation, resiliency and sustainability, and education and engagement. These 4 focus areas are supported by 15 goals, and each goal is further supported by specific objectives and recommended actions that are intended to guide Yuba City's urban forestry program over the next 40 years. Goals for management and planning include consider trees as integral green infrastructure, enhance the livability and character of the community, and follow integrative pest management protocols and best management practices when addressing pests and disease. Some objectives that support these goals include ensuring that new tree planting places an emphasis on putting the right tree in the right place, as well as planting large stature trees where feasible, and promoting the placement of trees to reduce energy consumption. Goals for protection and regulation include promoting tree preservation and protection and supporting consistency in guiding documents. Objectives that support these goals include permit requirements for the removal of public trees and ensuring that existing and future planning and visionary policies are consistent with the goals of the Urban Forest Master Plan. Goals for resiliency and sustainability include promoting species diversity, expanding tree canopy cover and benefits, a more water-wise urban forest, and repurposing wood resulting from tree removals wherever possible. Objectives in support of these goals include achieving a 25% canopy cover by 2040 and promoting tree planting on private property through education and community engagement. Goals for education and engagement include continuing to engage and involve the community in the stewardship of the urban forest and continuing to celebrate the importance of trees. Objectives in support of these goals include ensuring that the Urban Forest Master Plan is accessible to everyone in the community and communicating maintenance plans so that residents can anticipate when the street trees in their neighborhoods are scheduled for regular pruning. And this concludes the presentation, and we look forward to addressing any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions or comments at this time from the council? All right. It's very thorough, and thank you. And we'll take this out to public comments. And we have one card, Ms. Heather Essman.
Good evening, Council. Heather Essman, 2020 Lincoln Road, city resident. I have to say thank you to whoever put in this grant these many years ago to spend the money to put together such a detailed, specific plan. This isn't just kind of an overview. This is really detailed to our community's needs. They collected information. I was at one of those people that you collected information from, and I did the survey as well, back when you did that. The work that the staff had to put in order to create this, as well as the work that Davy Resource Group did, this is excellent. I mean, I used to do print, so the plan itself is absolutely gorgeous. But beyond that, the data behind it is just a lot of information. I know that you kind of got this just late last week, probably didn't get to really look through it. Please, when you have some time, just go through there and see. There's a lot of really important information in here. There's some really good recommendations in the objectives sections. For example, there are some recommendations or some possible considerations that you need to make for changing either municipal codes or any policies the city has. That includes potential for a heritage tree ordinance. There's also recommendation to create sort of a state of the plan report that could be done after 5 or 10 years. So you can go back and look from the first 4 years, for example. Was that implemented well? Were we able to do that? Also, there is an obligation to this once it's passed and once we've decided to make this. So green infrastructure is any different, because these are city trees. This is the community. This is what the city owns. This isn't any different than the streets that you have with potholes. If you're not taking care of those, that it tends to come up to a big wave. And so if you look at page 39 in this thing here, you'll see that what they're suggesting in that pie graph is less than 1% of the entire budget that you have here. It's all of these things, and it's just nothing, really. And if you look at page 53, you'll see that, so at the beginning, there's some money that has to be spent, but once you get started, you have to get to a certain point where it makes it easier for you to maintain this. So obviously the beginning is going to be a little bit more expensive. People are going to have to learn a little bit more. You've got a little more that has to get taken care of in the beginning, but it is definitely a worthwhile project. And I can't stress how impressed I am with this and with the city tree guide, also very gorgeous. So take a look. And there's even a little trail you can take in here if you ever get the chance with your grandkids. Some of you, I guess, are kids. I don't know. Some of you might be able to do that. But I can't stress how great this is. And I'm so very glad that the city at some point made the decision to put in a master. You didn't have to do this. Could have just ignored it, said, the tree, we'll take care of them whenever we can. But this is pretty much the same type of situation as your plan for your road maintenance or your plan for any other types of infrastructure that we have. So I just wanted to let you know that. Really impressed. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the council and Councilmember Baumgarten.
Through the mayor, I just want to acknowledge Rob Condry. I know that he's been actively engaged even recently with different civic groups, putting trees in and managing the trees for a while. I do have one question. How long have we been acknowledged as a Tree City USA? Do you have, it's been a while, I know that.
Yeah, I believe we're at 23 years.
Okay. And as Ms. Essman said, you know, the foresight of whoever got us into this grant program should be commended, and I just wanted to make those comments. Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I was going to echo what Councilmember Boomgarden said. That's okay. It's, we're all five up here together, but thank you to the entire city team because you guys brought this to us. I believe it was late 2018 is when the appropriations and stuff all came through and shared the need with us at that time. And it's a lot of work, but this fits right in with how forward-looking we are. This goes into Green Means Go, SACOG. It goes into so many things. So echo his sentiments. Thank you. And I'll bring it back to the council for action.
Through the mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution approving and adopting the 2020 Urban Forest Master Plan.
I'd like to second that and say, well done.
Okay. I have a motion by Vice Mayor Kirchner and a second by Councilmember Espandola. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we will move to agenda item 12. And this is for accepting grant funding and expenditure recommendations for the California Citizens Option for Public Safety COPS grant of $100,000. Chief Baker, you have the floor, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tony has put me on a strict clock back there in the back since he said we only had 3 business items, so it shouldn't take too long. So I can get through this in probably about 35 minutes. So tonight, before you, and many of you have seen this over the past several years, is an opportunity for funding from the state for in the amount of about $100,000. We've used this money over the years for various technological upgrades, equipment for patrol. So while we spend this money where we find the need, we also save it. So when we have a rainy day, so to speak, we can dig into the well and try and find a larger amount of money. And the biggest thing that we have there is we have a balance in that fund of almost $300,000. And so tonight before you, I have listed out various patrol-related expenditures, SWAT expenditures. The biggest thing for the SWAT expenditure would be the purchase of a Lenco Bearcat. Through the budget process, the council has approved about $160,000 of general fund vehicle replacement funds for that, and we'll use the other half from this COPS grant funding. So all said, we're looking this year to spend about $239,700. This is a zero match grant, and that'll still leave us with a decent kind of a little nest egg if we come up with any unexpected expenses. So if there's not any questions, I'd recommend that we conduct a public hearing, and after that, adopt a resolution authorizing me to accept the fiscal year 21-22 Citizens Options for Public Safety funding, and authorize the finance director to make a supplemental budget appropriation as follows.
Thank you, Chief. Before we go to the public hearing, is there any questions from the council? Okay, hearing none. The public hearing on the expenditure recommendations for the California Citizens Option for Public Safety COPS grant is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment. State your name and address for the record. Do we have any public comment for the COPS grant at the public hearing? Any public comment? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. We'll close the public hearing and bring this matter back to the council for action.
Through the mayor?
Yes, sir.
First to the city attorney. Is it necessary for me to read items B and C?
No, you can just move to adopt B and C. All right.
Through the mayor, I'd like to introduce a motion to pass, I'd like to make a motion to pass items B and C of item 12 as presented to the city council.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Motion from Councilmember Boomgarden, second from Councilmember Harris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item 13, small wireless telecommunication facilities within the city's right-of-way. Tonight we have Mr. Ben Moody, who's our Public Works and Development Services Director. Mr. Moody, you have the floor.
All right, good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. So the item before you tonight is really to adopt an ordinance regarding wireless telecommunication facilities. And with that ordinance, we're going to update our small wireless policies so they match. And so I'll work through this. Please ask me any questions. Really, I want to thank one of the engineering team members, William Jow, who's been really instrumental with the city attorney's office to help put this together and work through some of the particulars of to match the FCC rulings and coordinate with various entities such as AT&T. Okay, so a little background. A few years ago, there was an FCC order that basically set some specifics regarding shot clocks and really tied the hands of local jurisdictions in the state as far as what we could do to how the city controlled wireless communications. And some of those are macro, these administrative and major wireless. So the major wireless are the macro cells, the big trees, the big towers, and then you have the administrative wireless that are called small wireless facilities, is typically is how they're known. And so there was, through that FCC order, there was some real, they really tied the hands of local jurisdictions as far as what they could control, as far as the design elements, where they could put them, and how fast we had to act. And so with the Internet of Things and the demand that's continuing to grow regarding 5G and data, everything, there is a real push to start coming and put these small wireless facilities in. And the spot that they really want to put them is in the city's right-of-way on top of streetlight poles or an easy spot. And so the city has real concerns about that because they're putting stuff in the city's right of way that then could impact how we do business and then how we need to coordinate with that and cause potential conflicts and then who's paying for what type of thing. And so through this ordinance tonight, it's really taking in what those FCC guidelines are, but then establishing a structure for how we take in the permits, how we review them, and then put those policies in place that do allow us to, require stuff to be put in some standards that the city wants to limit control where we can. So we want to put this ordinance in place so we maximize the control that we can have over that. And so here's just an example of typically this is what we're, having more, when the macro cells come in, these are typically due to the height. They're still fall under our entitlement processes. Usually those are over the 52 feet or the 60 feet in the zoning. Those are still reviewed by the Planning Commission. The small wireless facilities, they're going to be under 50 feet and under a certain size, and then they'll be handled through the encroachment permit / building permit process. And so the Wireless Telecommunication Facility Ordinance, again, provides that regulatory framework and standards for permitting in the installation of these small wireless facilities. And then with that, we'll have a new permit that's basically a wireless telecommunication facility permit, which is kind of this, it's going to be this mesh of an encroachment permit that you would get for a city sidewalk that works through the Public Works, and then also tied to the building department as far as how we charge it and inspect it, as far as how they tie to power, and then to make sure the design and where they place it is appropriate. So with that, the fiscal impact, with some of these rulings, there's not a lot of money you could charge for them. There are some standards that are set that they need to, the costs need to be in balance of what the time, basically a neutral. You could charge a permit fee, the inspection, but there's no real revenue generation based on what the permits need to be. It needs to be, there's some established fees that we could use, or the city could do a separate analysis and figure that out. And so when we come back to you for the second reading, we're going to propose this master license agreement with some of the fee structures. And then also to add, there is a little bit, when they use our right-of-way and a city street light, there'll be franchise agreements. So if AT&T wants to come in and they want to use 100 of our street lights, there'll be a franchise agreement that would then, master license agreement that would come to city council for review. And with that, there's some requirements on the maximum amount that we could charge, but there are some small amounts that we could charge on an annual basis for the use of that pole. So more to come as you see these companies such as AT&T or Verizon come in. So with that, my recommendation in the staff report is A and B. It's to introduce an ordinance to the City Council of the City of Yuba City, adding Chapter 8 wireless telecommunications facilities in the public right-of-way to Title 6 of the Yuba City Municipal Code by title only and waive the first reading, and then also B as stated in the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. Is there any comments or questions from the council at this time? Okay. Hearing none, is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none, I will move it back to the council for any final comments or action.
Through the mayor, move to approve item number 13, items A and B.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Harris, and I have a second by.
So sorry, Mr. Mayor, because there is an ordinance, it has to be read in full. Just item A. Thank you.
Item A is introduce an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Yuba City adding Chapter 8 wireless telecommunication facilities to the public right-of-way to Title 6 of the Yuba City Municipal Code by title only and waive the first reading.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Harris, a second by the Vice Mayor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you. We will move on to agenda item 14. This is the opportunity to bring up any future agenda items you may wish to have brought up before the City Council, from the council. None up here tonight? Okay, then let's move on to reports and communication. We'll start with the City Manager's report.
All right, thank you. I just want to reiterate what Ben said in terms of William's work on the small wireless facilities. He has spent, William, a couple years now, 3 years working on this. So to see this come before council is a major milestone, and it's through William's dedication and effort and working with Shannon's office that we'll actually have something in place. And so thank you, William, very much for your time and effort on this. All right. So we have the upcoming 4th of July parade on Plymouth Street. That'll be starting at 10 a.m. Also, with this summer stroll this last weekend, it was great to see the public participation, and thank you for the compliments received from council, forwarded to the police department and their interactions with the public. We will have 2 fair booths at the upcoming fair this week. So the police department will have a booth, and then Public Works and Development Services are sharing a booth as well. On Sunday, Dock and Engineering will be there at a specific time to get input and feedback related to the bike path feasibility study. And then water conservation. So I still see a lot of people that are watering on non-watering days, and so there will be enforcement from Public Works, and you'll see a ramp up of enforcement from Public Works as the education campaign continues to make sure that people are aware of the watering restrictions, and then people will start to receive violations. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to see people watering on the days that they're not supposed to. It's more unfortunate to see irrigation systems that are broken that have water just running into the gutter. And so you'll see more of an effort from Public Works on that. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Espandola.
Thank you, Mayor. Attended the Gil-Sizer Drainage District meeting along with you. So we passed a proposed budget. That was the bigger item. I'm sure you'll add to other things if you like. The Regional Water Authority, I attended that through the advocacy and the federal affairs. We reviewed many bills. And so things are still not clear on where opposing or support items are going through. So once I get a list of that, I'll forward it on. We did a training with our city, emergency planning, that we all attended, and really good training by our fire chief. I see you over there on the screen. Good job, fire chief. And I also, as our city manager mentioned, attended the summer stroll, and it was such a great time. Great weather, thankfully. A lot of folks showed up. And the Downtown Business Association, Sandy and Crystal, did such a fantastic job, along with all the members and all the support. And yeah, our police was doing a fantastic job. The videos that are being produced and shared on social media are really enjoyable, and a lot of people are saying good comments about that. Planning to attend the fair. If you're going to go to the county fair, that's going to be happening starting Thursday. So definitely one of the things that I love to do when I go to the fair is get a corn dog. That's one of my favorite things, and maybe a little beverage as well. But William, great job on your work. So impressive on the things that you're doing for our city. So thank you, and keep it up and doing that. That's all I got. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, I have to, first of all, thank Councilmember Bloomgarden for stepping up for me and attending a wonderful SACOG meeting. I had a few things come up in my other life that prevented my attendance in a few things, but I was able to attend my newly appointed position on our committee for the local film commissions. We had a meeting there, and the gal who we are employing they work in the Northern California Film Commission up there. She is helping us out as we get started. And typically in the first year of an incident, or when you start off on these things, you're lucky to make a dime. And in our first quarter, she reported that we had 4 inquiries locally for Yuba City, 4 feature films, 1 commercial, 1 music video, and 1 another one just completed, which brought thousands of dollars into the community already. So to be able to report that much so soon is a very good thing. And so we remain excited and encouraged by the results even this early in the game. So, and that is it for me.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Bloomgarden.
Thank you. As Councilman Harris mentioned, I stood in for him at the SACOG meeting. Just a couple quick things that happened there. There was funding that were made available for 6 dial-a-ride buses. This is the stuff that affects us locally anyway. Funding for 6 dial-a-ride buses, and funding for the new transit facility was through a program they have. A lot of discussion about a tax initiative that's working its way, or tax measure that's working its way through Sacramento. There was significant concern from the outlying counties about its impact if it passes, as to the ability for the outlying counties to continue to get funds. Wouldn't be that they wouldn't get funds, it would be more of a challenge. The vote was pretty close, but it did pass, giving the SACOG executive director the opportunity to sit down and sign an MOU. The entities that were against that were mostly, again, the outside folks. On behalf of the city, I voted no, along with the vice chair of the board, Carm Baines, only for the reasons that we wanted to have some representation there. I don't know that it's going to negatively affect SACOG providing funds to us, but it would have been nice for, I think, the outlying areas to have some representation as this MOU gets developed. As a member of the Sutter County Families and Children's Commission, we approved a balanced budget of about $1.2 million, and their long-range financial planning. They do a lot of good things. One thing that was a bit alarming was that we discovered that at our Feather River Parkway, which is the park down by north of the 10th Street Bridge, they are working in partnership with Sutter County Sheriff's Department and putting in life jackets. Life jackets are supposed to be loaners. The loaners, unfortunately, are walking away. So even though they're marked property of Sutter County Sheriff's Department. So we've been actively working to provide or find sources for donations, and that's active. And I want to thank George Barlow and Diana for helping with that effort by using our social media outlets. We've already got quite a few interests there. Attended another meeting on the Project Home Key. Again, we continue to be engaged with local groups that are involved with trying to find affordable housing and homeless. I would say at this point, the talks continue to be fruitful. And, as soon as there's something substantive to be able to report, we will do that. The summer stroll, it's been mentioned before, but I was there for the setup, and I really want to give kudos to the electricians and to some of the public works. I personally witnessed some extra stuff that was going on that they were doing to provide support to the operation or to the event. Stuff that I went, wow, that's helpful. And so I think you know who those folks are, but please, I think that's kind of the partnership that we've got with the DBA to put on this really nice event. The weather was home run, and a lot of people, I know I saw Councilwoman there, and a lot of folks, a lot of positive comments. Attended a ribbon cutting with the mayor and the vice mayor, local business. Look forward to those. Those are always good things. There's a fair amount of these things happening now there, which is good. Business is good in Yuba City. The Yuba City Fair, or excuse me, Yuba Sutter, could be the Yuba City Fair. Yeah, Yuba Sutter Fair, obviously I won't go into that. There was mention about the Children's Parade, really looking forward to that. I can't remember how many years that is now, but that's always a fun event. And I will take a few moments to say, I think fireworks is still going on. To my knowledge, I don't think we've heard anything different. We're a partner as a sponsor along with Sutter County and Yuba County and Marysville and the Yuba Water Agency. I do know that there's still some fundraising going on, but I think they'll overcome the hurdle. Fireworks, of course, like everything else, have become more expensive. So with that, Mr. Mayor, that'll conclude my comments.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended Sabufka. We voted on a contract for the executive director, had a hearing and approval of a final amended budget. Attended the Yuba Center Homeless Consortium, where we learned that the Cedar Lane project, they're looking at late September as an opening for 108 family dwellings and 41 permanent support facilities. And they're also working towards, with a home key to identify sites and future sites for Yuba City. The other thing we talked about was the PIT, the point in time count for the homeless in our area is going to take place this January, late January. The mosquito vector, we decided to sublease the Market Street property. And there was an approval, employee salaries and benefits for 2022, 2023. Preliminary budget approval for those same time periods, 2022 and 2023. And there's no activity. I guess that's a good thing. Attended the Business Connection, which the Chamber put on, which dealt with the homeless issue as it affects the businesses in our area. Also attended the EOC management. Great job, the Chief Alexander, for putting that on. Thank you. The mayor and I attended the Homeless Task Force meeting, which was the initial setup meeting for the 10 people that were chosen to help us, guide us, and looking for hopefully an ideal or temporary overnight parking facility in Yuba City. It was mentioned before. Attended the ribbon cutting ceremony with it was NAV accounts, and it was mentioned before. The summer stroll was great. Weather was perfect. Lastly, I would like to reiterate what Councilman Boomgarner said about we've had a lot of these new businesses opening, which is exciting to see. This past weekend, I was in San Francisco. And I was amazed at how many places are boarded up along the places that are normally very busy. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, but there's just businesses that are. It's disheartening to see that, but it's great to see just the opposite happening in our community. So that's what I got.
Thank you. It's been a busy week, a couple of weeks for everyone. First of all, thank you to my colleagues for continuing on in my absence earlier this evening. I tell anyone that's going back and forth over the summit, try to avoid 80 and 20 at all costs because there's accidents and construction. But thank you for carrying on. I got here as quick as I could. One of the big things I attended over the last couple of weeks was a 2-day retreat for GSEC. and that's the Greater Sacramento Economic Council. A lot of great information out of that, and we hear it over and over about communities that appear not to be diverse, appear not to be represented properly. And the data from this entire region is we are actually truly diverse in the business community with the different various groups that own businesses within the Greater Sacramento area. And that was very, very, very encouraging. Continuing on there, looking forward to ongoing talks between GSEC and SACOG. Looking forward to how we're going to attract more businesses and more growth in this area. And it could be, it's to be controlled growth, but they have everything going on that 50-80 corridor, and we've got to get them coming up 99 because we are a part of the Greater Sacramento area. One thing that stuck out, and I'm not sure if they stole it from you, Councilmember Boomgarden, or not, but because you were on GSEC, I think, a few years ago. Were you? Or I can't remember. I think so. But one of the things they stated was a few years ago, it was open for business. And I think we've proved that over the last several years. And the thinking now is open to business. And I think that's what we're experiencing as well. So I want to give you kudos for that going back, because it was encouraging to watch them say that as you brought that forward a few years ago. But I think we have changed that stance, and we are open to businesses, not just open for business. And that's the growth that's going on. The overnight parking workshop, I think, very successful. To give you highlights of that, we had the people come together, and the first comments were, we want to come and hear what you have to say, and they were informed real quick that you're going to be disappointed because this is not for you to come hear what we have to say. This is your meeting. We want you to understand the problem and get all your questions answered. And we spent 2 or 3 hours that night. It was a long, 3, yeah, it was a long night. Got every question answered. To kind of put it forward, the next meeting coming up in the next couple of weeks is going to be focused on the rules for an overnight parking location. We're not talking about the location at this point. We're talking about understanding the problem. Then the second is, no matter where it's at, what are the rules? And so we're going to let them walk through that exercise. And again, somewhere in the next several weeks, hopefully we'll have a nice report back to the council as far as the journey that they've been on and what their recommendations are. So that's going well there. The fair's coming up. We had, just as I said, everything else going on from Gil Sizer to the ribbon cuttings and Stroll, DBA. Want to say thanks, like everyone else, Chief, to you and your team, but I also want to give a shout out to Chief Alexander and Fire. They were down there as well. And then going back to Public Works, Ben, and your team. That's truly a community event. And I think we all made it down there at some point, and it was great. So with that, I don't have anything else to report at this time because transit has been canceled for this week, as well as RWMA. They were being rescheduled because we're looking at interviews coming up for a new director for RWMA. So with that, any final comments from the council? Okay. Hearing none, we will stand adjourned.